right, nice job. Good set. Let's do some social kick.
All right, everyone. Welcome and thanks for joining us here in our coronavirus quarantine shelter in place social kick podcast. I am John Mullen here, and I'm with some of my good swimming friends. Who do I have with me?
You got Luke Paddington here.
You got Justin over here. And we got a pool in the background. And Brian's finally here.
Hey, guys.
All right.
At the nick of time.
All right. Looks like we all got on here. Sorry for the delay. We were just getting our connections going. But why don't we go around and maybe tell everyone where we're shooting this from and what everyone's drinking? Luke?
I'm shooting this from San Jose, California. And I'm drinking one of my favorite beers that came out in 1994, my third year at university.
What is it?
La Fin du Monde. Have you heard about it?
The end of the world?
The End of the World, it's called.
Yeah.
It's a Belgium triple style ale. Something we drank a bit when it first came out in Montreal, but we just never could afford it. So I'm gonna drink it out of my McGill trophy mug that I got, which I found recently on my trip home to Trinidad, and I'm gonna have a toast to my days of McGill. There we go.
What mascot again?
These little things here are the martlets. They're mystical birds. That's on our coat of arms. They're martlets, and we were known as the Red Med, the Red Birds or Red Men.
That's all right, Luke. I came from a school that people didn't know what the mascot was anyway.
There we go.
All right, Justin, how about you? Where are you at, and what are you drinking?
I'm at my backyard because I can't stand sitting at my desk right now, but I probably have to move back to my desk soon because of my battery life. But Kirkland water bottle.
Oh,
Because
What happened to the
forgot my-
Chelsea bottle?
It's not a school night.
it's somewhere. I'll probably go get a beer in the middle of the podcast.
sounds good.
Going out of core.
All right, Brian, how about you?
I have officially moved into the shipping container house that I built in the Santa Cruz Mountains.
Whoa.
So I put together an IKEA kitchen.
Looks good.
First
Oh,
time.
Oh.
So I'm celebrating with a little High West rendezvous ride.
Nice.
Whoa.
That's awesome.
Fancy.
that's been a journey, Brian. Congratulations.
First full week of working in the container, and now my main house is under construction.
Oh, no.
Well, one done. Moving on to the next.
Finally got some Wi-Fi figured out and some audio.
Yeah, perfect. Hey, glad we
John,
got
what
you.
are you drinking?
Yeah, so I think I got this from Trader Joe's. It's just what is it? Complementation Hazy IPA.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
Oh,
Did
boy.
you practice social distancing when you were shopping for that hazy IPA?
Yeah, it probably took us 45 minutes to enter the store because they're only letting in a few people at a time, and the lines are,
Oh, wait. I went to your house. Your wife said it took us 20 minutes lining up to get in. So I'm like, great. I went the next morning, yesterday. It took me an hour and 5 minutes.
Whoa.
Oh.
Yeah, we went to Costco today. It's quicker to get into Costco than I think Trader Joe's. I went and
Wow.
got some stuff from the food, like the food area, while my wife waited in line, and by the time I got the food, she was already in.
Jeez.
So it was maybe 10, 15-minute line at Costco
That's
to get
fine.
in.
It was
Yeah.
very organized at
It looked a
Trader
lot
Joe's.
longer. They were like letting people in herds, but
Right.
nonetheless, we're all up here in the Bay Area, and like I said, we're in the shelter in place. But we figured we'll give our first remote one to try here, since this is the perfect situation for it here. But obviously, COVID-19, the coronavirus, is causing havoc not only on everyone's health and the economy, but also the world of swimming. So, what do you guys think is going to happen with the Olympics and everything? I think that's the biggest topic right now.
At this point, I said on one of our recent episodes that I just couldn't see it happening, that they would move the Olympics back, and gosh, how the world has changed.
Yeah, what was that, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much, and even within, the later half of this week, so it's changed a whole lot. Now, I have to say, so from a work standpoint, I work for a company who does a lot of production and manufacturing in Asia, a lot of it in Taiwan, a lot of it in China. And our supplier base is almost entirely back online and back to work. And we've heard that the Chinese have recently had their first day with no new cases. And so I'm kind of on the fence about it still, because it seems like the wave has reached the Western world. And so so the Western world is reacting in a very, drastic and appropriate way. But the Olympics are in Japan. And, so from that standpoint, it makes me think, okay, well, Asia is starting to find its way back out on the other side of it. However, it's not all about, can the games go on? We know that nobody's been able to train, and so for me, it matters about how long it carries on that athletes aren't able to train. And that differs by sport. So for our sport, a lot of pools are closed. Nobody can train. I went out yesterday in the beach or in the ocean in Santa Cruz and did some ocean swimming. Not everybody has the ability to do that. And so I think that's the bigger thing to consider here is not so much can the venue be up and ready, but how long does it have a negative effect on athletes and their training because of how long they've had to be out.
Definitely. What do you think, Luke?
I can't see it going ahead. I mean, I'm still seeing IOC up to this afternoon saying, it's not even on the agenda of our next meeting. But with USA swimming, USA track and field, Canadian swimming, everybody pushing and writing letters saying they don't want to take part. The next step is if they go ahead, they're going to be a boycott. They won't take part. And then how are you going to boycott? How are you going to have games without the US, without Canada, or those major teams? So it's not going to go ahead. The IOC are going to have their hand forced. But obviously Japan is holding on as long as they can. Think of the investment they've made in this, billions of yen. So it's going to be a struggle, and we're waiting to see how it plays out, as per Brian says. But everybody is at a disadvantage right now, and it's going to go on for at least a few weeks, if not months. And the federations are not going to take part. And if they don't take part, there's no games.
Definitely. Justin, what do you think? Anything else to add on it?
I'm in agreement with all you guys. I think the best interest should be in the athletes, honestly, because that's what creates the fun for the game. So I think, in my personal opinion, they should delay it one more year. I understand there's a monetary investment that's involved with that process, but we'll wait and see. I believe, and I got to double check, but I believe they have till May to make that final decision. But from my understanding, USA Swimming is trying to postpone the trials as well. So we'll see what happens.
I mean, 3 times the games have been postponed, right, in our history. Twice for World War II and once World War I. I wondered at what point did they make the decision before the actual date? So the 1940 Olympics were postponed. The war started in 1939, so they had lots of time to postpone it. So I'm just interested to see what was that struggle back then, what is it like now. So
definitely. Yeah. Brian, you got something to add?
Yeah, we've seen the world mobilize, and say what you will about different governments and the speed at which they've moved. We've seen some with a different governmental structure be able to move really quickly, and then some others not respond to the crisis in such speed. And so it makes me wonder, could the sporting community also adapt and redo things and rearrange and reschedule as quickly. And there's been an all hands on deck sort of approach, right? Mm-hmm. And so, so if the Olympics move back 4 months, can we see the same response out of the sporting community, or is, that just putting, the Japanese Olympic Committee under way too much stress to be able to react to it and support a delay? It's a monumental effort to put on an Olympic Games, let alone someone throw a wrench in the thing and say, hey, we're gonna move it all back 3 months. But then again, maybe it's not impossible, Yeah. So it would change the dynamic of a lot of events. But the world is in adapt mode right now. So I think whereas previously we may have said, no, wait, that can't move, it's impossible. Well, guess what? when push comes to shove and, the world is moving in a direction where, like, sorry, you have to close your business, or sorry, you have to work from home, you figure it out. And so I'm curious to see, okay, so it's not ideal that athletes would be out of training for 10 days, 20 days, 2 months. But so what? Like, maybe that's the deal. And I would feel differently about the preparation of the athletes for the games if we had already selected the teams. The fact that we haven't selected the teams, I think, throws an extra wrench in it, where you could say, okay, everybody who's already selected their teams is on a level playing field. Everybody's going to adapt, and then we're all going to figure out and show up at the Olympics and do what we can. And I think that if it were 2 months down, that would still leave us enough time of 3 to 4 months of training to prep appropriately for the games. And then if the games are delayed, you have plenty of time, 6 months, let's say, as long as you take care of your body during this time. However, we haven't selected the teams, and I think that just makes it all the more difficult. Some teams have, but a lot of teams haven't. And I think that aspect just perhaps overcomplicates it to the point that trying to get the Olympics done this year is just, it's a stretch. I would still like to see it happen, of course, but I think it's going to be a real stretch.
Yeah, definitely. I think, Jane from the comments, she was saying how the mental health of the athletes, I think there's a lot of stress on the athletes right now. And unfortunately, the Olympics, you could say, don't always have the athlete's best interest in mind. So I'm not sure what they are going to do. But yeah, just the mental stress of not knowing what's going on. Athletes probably going to try to hop back in the water and go 150% to make up for this. We'll put their physical stress, increase injuries and things like that. So we might, if they keep the Olympics, I think if this delays even a little bit longer, it's going to, once again, not get the best performance out of the athletes, which is what I think as a spectator we want to see. It's just the Olympics, is that what they're going to do? Keep in mind, the athletes, and also what the viewers like to see, which is, athletes perform at their absolute peak.
What do you think athletes are going through right now, training with these uncertain goals? I mean, how do you dive in the water if you have access to the water and put it all in if you don't know what's happening, where it's going to as well? Not just mental health, but how do you get the most out of it? It's very tough. I mean, I know when I train, I don't have a goal to train for. I don't take it to that next level personally. So
definitely. Anyone else have anything else to add with, the state of flux we're in right now with the coronavirus? I think, like I said, Brian?
I'm really liking the fact that you've got a lot of athletes who are sharing what they're doing, how they're coping.
Yeah.
And that's true across different sports, by the way. And again, not every sport is affected in the same way. You can still go out and ride your bike. If you're a triathlete, you can still go out and run in most cases. Maybe not at the gym, but outside. And so, there's some sports that wouldn't be nearly as impacted as those of us who need access to a pool, right? But I think it's pretty cool how everyone right now is assuming that it's going to be a temporary break. And as someone who's put all of the training that they've put into this quad, let alone this year, is honoring the commitment that they've made. And I'm sure, of course, to Jane's point about mental health, their mental approach is being tested as well, because, it's a great unknown. And at this point, one of the hardest things in being an athlete, especially a high level athlete, is learning to control the things that you can control, and to let go of control of the things that are outside of your control. And I think that's true now more than ever. For the world's elite athletes who are, preparing themselves for a shot at the Olympic Games. And it will be a true test of will, of diligence, of creativity, and, of patience for them to stay on their diet, to come up with different ways of training, and not lose the confidence that all the time that they put into the preparation and the base that they've built up, that's meaningful. And it does serve them physiologically over, for a period of time, as so long as they can maintain. I remember taking 3 months off of swimming when I did after 2008 Olympic trials. I took 3 or 4 months off of swimming and I was living and studying abroad. But I stayed relatively strong. I was in the gym. I was lifting, and I came back to the U.S. I was a little bit overweight, but I had been in the gym most of that time, still lifting, and then I was in the water 9 times before going to U.S. Nationals, and went 90% of my best times at that U.S. Nationals, and so that actually shaped for me my perspective on the work that you put in and how long it stays with you. And so I think now it's really important for swimmers to be doing the things like strength training that can help them maintain and lengthen and get them through this, what we assume to be a temporary, hiatus for training and access and elite competition. But there are things that they have been doing. There are things that they can be doing now that will help them. And in my opinion, that it transfers pretty well if you take care of your body. And that's been my personal experience as well. So I think my encouragement would be to any of those athletes out there that if they're losing, this, doesn't work, or if I'm just throwing a med ball around my house, like that's not going to help me down the road. Well, keep at it, because you don't know, and control what you can control. And that's doing all the things to take care of your body, assuming that the Olympics will take place. So I hope everybody leaves with that mindset and carries that through this unfortunate circumstance that we're all in together.
Definitely.
It's good insight, B.
Yeah,
Definitely. We're being creative with dryland. Shameless plug at Core. We're our facility shut down. We're doing remote dryland training with teams across the country, helping them try to stay strong and still have that sense of community and interaction where we're doing live feedback and webcams. It's really interesting. And I'm having fun with it. Worked with the team in Connecticut recently, so nice to hear them talk about the New England Patriots losing Brady and kind of have some fun with that. So there's ways to get through this, and with what hard work they've done in the past, a lot of it will still be in there. Nonetheless, keep working hard, everyone, staying healthy, physically and mentally.
Yep. And I want to leave off, Brian, you mentioned figuring out and going to dryland. You don't need the fanciest thing sometimes, but as long as you're working on full body movements and just trying to stay in shape the best way possible, it's going to work out. I mean, I think, speaking of figuring out, Brian, you remind me of what I saw today with Murphy and Pernod. They posted on their Instagram just them pushing cars up a hill. I mean, someone's driving it, obviously, but hey, it's better than nothing. They're trying to I think Pernod is doing like physics equations, trying to figure out how much load they're pushing with the car uphill. So I thought that was pretty creative and pretty interesting. So go check that out if you haven't seen that already. But, that's one way of figuring it out and staying in shape.
There's so many high-level athletes right now putting out their ideas, as John you mentioned before, putting out ideas about how to get the most out of working from home or working out at home, and all the different things that you can do. I mean, there's tons of content out there. So, and that's true for, elite athletes vying for the Olympic trials, as it is club swimmers and anybody else who's just, trying to stay in shape and honor the work that they did. And, so that they set themselves up well for a good summer, because we're going to have a bunch of folks that hang it up, that say, oh, well, whatever, this is just an extended break. And then they're going to see the impact of that next year. It's kind of like when you go away for Christmas training, or, you take your break for the holidays. And I mean, we would always weigh in before we left for Christmas break, and weigh in afterwards. And it was like, hey, the message though was kind of similar and what I would channel if I was, an athlete competing today, trying to make Olympics, is like, don't throw away all the training you just did by, eating your face off for the next week. And that, I think, is one of the biggest components that anybody who's serious about their competition and their performance this summer, while you're in this period of, you can't necessarily control your training environment, and you can maintain and do the best you can, watch your diet, and adjust your diet, probably down some than the intake that it had been when you're at peak training. Because if you can't get all that cardiovascular work in and that high end work, and you're not burning the same amount of calories, you need to adjust it. And that's not saying to let the pendulum go too far the other way, but I think there's a lot of athletes right now that could eat their way out of an opportunity. And I would say that that's equally as important as getting creative with training and things that you can do, like pushing a car up a hill.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting to listen to this discussion, and there's an uneven playing field that we're all dealing with right now. So when we talk about postponing the Olympics, we're thinking about all the sports. And Brian, you mentioned that some sports still have access to full training. So each sport has a different level of break that they're being forced to take. Also, each federation has a different level of break that they are being told they have to take. U.S. swimming, Canada swimming, they're all shut down. So the elite athletes are training on their own. Brent Hayden today is training on a field. We saw, right? Michael Andrew is surfing today. But federations like Trinidad, we are allowing our athletes to access all the facilities if they have made the Olympics already, because we have different criteria for making the Olympics, or if they're very close to making the Olympics. Some federations are perhaps giving exemptions to their swimmers to be able to do that behind doors closed swims, for instance. As what happened in Italy recently. And we're going to talk about that next. So there's definitely an unbalanced access to training facilities now across, depending on each federation's rules and governments. We don't know what's happening in Russia, do we? We knew in Spain, all the swimmers in Spain can't swim at all. So the top swimmers are not training in Spain. The top swimmers in Trinidad are training. So it's a really interesting environment. And we saw what happened with Federica. We can go there next, John, if you want.
Definitely. Yeah, I was about to say we had one swimmer swimming. As Luke said, we had Pellegrini drop the 155 and the 200 free. I guess it was behind closed doors. So, what do you guys think of that? How much of a difference does that make? And what do you think she can put up at the Olympics whenever they happen?
I saw those two races. I saw the 53 and I saw the 155. It was this enclosed dome swimming pool. There were other people on deck, but it was very quiet. And she was by herself with just her coach for the 200 free. And I was really surprised at the time that she did, how she got up and pushed herself by herself in the 155 to get that fast. It showed a very mature swimmer who's very in touch with her splits and her stroke and her technique and in good shape. So I was very impressed to see a swimmer of that level swim that fast in that environment. It's fantastic. The 53.
So
Go ahead.
Sorry, is there a video online of that?
Yeah. Well, there was on her Instagram. So I follow her Instagram,
okay.
and so she posted on her Instagram of her swimming, and it was very impressive.
Okay.
Got it. And then in other news, we have ISL announced a new team. I know Justin was pretty excited about that new name. Do you want to unveil it?
The Toronto Titans. I think that's a good name. Me personally, I think that's kind of a cool name.
I agree. I think that's one of the best names in the league.
Yeah, it's got a good ring to it.
Well, do you guys think the Titans will make the year 2 grand finale?
Well, they need a bigger roster first, from my understanding.
Bold predictions right here, guys. Bold predictions. Let's hear it.
They got some good swimmers.
They got Kylie. They got Blake. Who else they got?
Antoine McKee. Chadwick.
Oh, yeah. Chadwick moved, eh?
Yeah. So they got some good people. It's just, again, they need a bigger roster, but if they can build upon it, and again, we'll see how free agency works in the ISL, and people move over to the Toronto Titan roster. Mm-hmm. We'll see how that goes, but I think they build upon it and they get the right people. They might have they might be in the middle of the pack as of right now because they need a few more superstars.
Does that mean they're going to add a European to balance it out?
That's a good question. I do not know.
Yeah.
I know they were.
I'll give my answer. Go ahead, John.
I was just saying, I know they're going to add 2 teams. I don't know where the other side is. Brian, what were you saying?
I'll give my my perspective on the Titans making the final when I find out who their skins athletes are. But we saw how critical success in the skins was, or how much of a game changer it could be, particularly with Team Iron. and how they didn't have a ton of depth across the board. They seemed to build that throughout the season, but where they really did well is in the skins with Vlad and Renomi. And so that could change everything for Toronto, is if they can steal a skins athlete away. But I mean, at this point, I'm not sure who would be available for skins. I mean, it's obviously a very different type of athletic output, but some of the top swimmers are already taken, and I don't know if there's anybody else that is, perhaps on the table, or able to, or is a potential to switch teams. It'd be interesting to see if we had somebody who was really unhappy with the team that they were on to date, or let's say that the Breakers had somebody that they wanted out of the team manager environment or something like we've seen with a couple. I think that would change things a lot, but it's so critical. So
for the women's skins, with NCAA graduation, Erica Brown, and then you have Abby Weitzel. So on the women's side, there could be some pretty good skins competitors. I'm not sure if they would win, but I think they could be up there. Men's wise, I'm not sure. I'm not sure who was leading NCAAs in the 50 free this year.
Hoffer, but he's underclassman.
Camp, right?
Got it.
So, and is he a senior as well?
Who?
Brian Hoffer?
No, he's a junior, I believe.
Okay. I don't know how he does back to back, but yeah, it's an interesting one. Also, as I said last year, the how fresh people are for those ISL meets changes everything.
Definitely.
And because there was such a big emphasis in year one on continuing to, we saw a lot of people, like, especially the Indiana crew is what sticks out in my mind of the DC Trident, like, Cody's, Zach Apple, Ledecky only showing up for like 2 meets. They're, or just one. So, you had some people that were like, okay, cool, ISL, but you're not my priority. Right. I really think that in the year post the Olympics, and if they postpone the Olympics, they could throw a whole wrench in the ISL and schedule and everything. Honestly, if they postpone the Olympics, I think the ISL then looks at the schedule and goes, okay, but we got to postpone too.
Yeah, there's an article about it today. Saying that.
If the Olympics is in November, nobody's competing in ISL. So
no, not at all.
So that whole season is off, and that's tough for them. But I think I think that it could totally change, like, who we see do really well in skins, who we see do really well in ISL meets. Zach Apple, for one, is just like one of top of mind. There's a slew of others who could be really great, but we didn't see them shine. And I think a lot of that is because they just didn't prioritize ISL. You have people like Dressel, who probably wasn't getting ready, but he's so fast and far and above everybody else that he's able to do it and be in, Greg Troy deep training, right? But not everybody's able to do that. And so I think we could really see this season change a lot in terms of how people approach the ISL, what they put into it, and that could change the results.
Sorry, Brian, what I was going to say, if it's postponed a year and say everything opens up in the fall, do you see that being more of a high importance that because of the racing potentially? Say that if the Olympics get postponed to next summer?
I think that in terms of how people, I could go either way. I could see that. I could see it playing out exactly like it did last year, where some people go, okay, cool, that's plenty of time before the Olympics, so I'm going to go for it. And then some people go, no, I'm going to stick to the plan. It's a 5-year quad, and and then I'm going to stick to my training plan. And but I kind of think 4 years is such a long time to be getting ready for one race. I used to go, how crazy is it that I can travel across the world for a 22-second race? And how crazy is it that we trained for 4 years for something that I could see some people going, what a crazy year it's been with coronavirus and the change of our training, and the Olympics are postponed for a year, and I just can't take it anymore. Let me do ISO. It's a crapshoot. We're all doing these crazy things and then come back around to it. So I could see some athletes just going, you know what? Hey, when life hands you a weird hand, you just you play the weird hand.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree.
And there's been, I think Luke was mentioning, and I think we touched on a little there. There's a lot of changes still happening with the ISL. Some people changing teams. We have somewhere's going to Energy Standard. I think more interesting though, they did add the 100 IM as an event for season as well. So who do you guys think would be the favorite in the men's 100 IM at ISL? Is it Dressel?
Marazov?
We know
Marazov, Vlad is good.
Marazov won all the World Cup meets, back in the day. So Vlad, Caleb,
Michael Andrew, maybe.
It's just another sprint event, though. I mean, they got they're going to have the skins now. The 100 IM. We saw Vlad and Caleb and Andrew do a lot of those 50s too. So it's I don't know.
Did you say 100 IM skins? 100 IM skins. Did you say that?
No.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun.
Imagine that breaststroke.
Well, so this is okay. So if I would think that the ISL, if they're going to release a new event schedule, they're going to do it once. And so with the addition of the 100 IM, that makes me think that that's the only format change that they're making, which I'm of course excited about. It was the one glaring race. I mean, if there was an obvious one that was missing, it was the 100 IM, which of course, lends to people like Vlad and Dressel for sure. Grievers on the men's side, on the women's side. Probably a lot.
I had a tough time thinking who would be the favorite for the women's myself. If it's going to be one of the sprint freestylers or flyers. I don't know. Justin, maybe you can look up who wins the World Cup in these 100 IMs for women. I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, I was going to say Sjostrom. And I mean, you can fake a breaststroke, right, and do well at 100 IM. I mean, really, truly, because you got to take like 4 or 5 strokes.
That's it.
Anyway, I think the addition of that is interesting. I'm not as excited about the fact that there hasn't been any mention of additional other random races. And I still think it'd be so cool if they did things like, they need to gamify some of the races, because that's where we saw the magic with the skins. And it's because there's drama to it. And I think there's a lot of drama with things like additional points scored for every additional yard that you swim on top of a 400 free, like until the second place finisher finishes, or
That'd be
every swimmer, like if you win the race and get out of the pool before the next person finishes, like that next person is disqualified. Like
right.
Things like this that I think actually would make the races a lot more fun. I still think they should go back and get rid of the B relay. I think that the B relay, or just let it go. I don't like the 1-2ing of relays like that. I think it should just stick to one. So, I don't know. I think I would like to see some more creativity, and I think I'd like to see the ISL lean into the like what was the most fun for all of us to watch, and say, what is it about the skins that we can do to grow it? That's where the magic.
Agreed.
So far, still a great first season, but we've only seen the addition of the 100 IM. Very excited about that. I want to see a little bit more.
Yeah. Luke has a few news bits there. I think we missed one big IMer.
No, yeah. Well, yeah. So Katinka has a world record in the 100 IM for women. And Lochte used to have the world record in 100 IM. He went 51 short course a few years ago, though, obviously. But is Lochte going to join once he gets his band? Will Lochte join a team?
Well, so I don't understand.
I don't
How
think
is
he
it
can,
legal?
right?
How's what?
Does his doping violation not count?
Oh yeah,
I think that's
you're
why
right.
he's not allowed to join.
That's why he and Yulia are not Efimova. It's not allowed to join. You're right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he would not be allowed to join, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. Just to put in my favorites, I would probably say for the 100 IM, at least from the World Cup results, Katinka has been killing the game with a lot of sub 57s. So
I think we just had a little mind lapse there. She's been pretty dominant in the IMs for all the length. I mean, obviously she's getting a little bit older, and the 100's probably her least, dominant one. But she's certainly been killing the IM scene here for a while.
Yeah. Sorstrom is also a potential favorite. She did win one World Cup race recently, but the rest was just all Katinka.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, I mean,
it's that backstroke, man. It's a backstroke for Sarah. It's gonna kill her.
What does she have? Is she one of those slow tempo backstrokers? She get her on her back, and it's like, just move your arms.
Exactly.
I don't move my arms fast in backstroke.
What was that, Brian?
Backstroke tempo is hard. I don't know. It didn't matter how hard I tried to spin my arms. Anybody who's got tempo, like Regan Smith's tempo and backstroke, I have no idea how she does that.
Yeah.
Is she a contender?
Well, we don't know if she's pro yet.
Yeah, we'll see. That would be be an exciting one if she went pro.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see her go pro.
Yeah.
But like I said, get into the Stanford network. Do your time there for 1 year, and then move to go pro. And then you're in the family, you're on the farm, go to school, pay for your own way, but it's all right because she's going to make more.
Yeah.
Milk it right now, because while she's in her prime,
get
that money.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. All right.
We've seen some of the stars of, especially on the women's side, people who excel at such a young age. We've seen some longevity from some. I mean, Sjostrom is probably the best example today of, the times that it's hard for me to believe sometimes how young she still is, because she was at the top of the world at age 15 in 2009.
Yeah,
and so the fact that she's still, at the top of the ISL and the top of world swimming right now is like, wow, but she's still so young. And I think we've seen it go the complete opposite way, or some kind of in the middle, where you have those like Missy who have a great run, but it doesn't continue on. And the circumstances, of course, are all different. But so my hope is that Regan Smith has a super long career and we get to watch her swim and do amazing things for forever. But don't know if that's going to happen. And I think, because the economic opportunities within swimming and sport in general, for Olympic sports, especially those that are outside of kind of the mainstream, have gotten pretty good with I guess the way that the world has shifted in social media, that you can monetize and you can create opportunities for yourself to make that money. And I think that someone in her position ought to give a really hard look, because I think the appeal of getting a college scholarship is perhaps not the same as it once was when you consider the two opportunities on the table.
Definitely.
It's definitely changed. You're right.
Mm-hmm. All right, boys. Anything else to end? Luke, you got anything else on your end?
No, nothing on my end. Interesting times we're in. It's awesome. Yeah.
That it is. Justin, anything for you?
Nope. Interesting times we're in.
Interesting times. All right. Brian, you have anything else?
I'm just going to keep hitting this rendezvous rye.
There you go. Enjoy, man. That will do it for today. Okay. Once again, we'll be a little more regular, back in the regular routine with everyone. But like I said, we've been all hectic here with the shelter in place here in the Bay Area. But hopefully this format works for everyone, so we can continue to do this. And next time, make sure you come with any questions that you guys may have, or an open book to help answer any questions along the way. But nonetheless, everyone be safe out there. Wash your hands, 20 seconds, sing happy birthday twice, and we'll see you guys next time, okay?
All right. See you guys.
See ya.